Gandhi once said, "A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes." What we think about is very important. Our behavior follows our thinking. If most of our thinking is about ourselves, we become self-centered. If most of our thinking is about money, we will raise the priority on everything that has to do with money and reduce or eliminate all other aspects of our life. If all of our thinking is centered on survival, survival is what we will get. You get the picture. So let's take a moment to dissect what most of us think about. The very base level of our thinking relates to survival. For most of us, survival is comprised of the millions of things we do to manage life. Pay our bills, take the kids to their soccer, replenish groceries, deal with our parents, and so on. This level of thinking is very necessary, but it doesn't lend itself very well to finding our sweet spots. Who has time for that? Life management can be all-consuming if we let it. Many of us grew up with parents who lived through the Depression and World War II eras. We grew up in an environment where living life meant getting married, settling down, and working towards retirement. But as you will soon discover, there's much more. Some of us feel it is important to improve ourselves. Are we getting in shape? Need to go on a diet? Need to be a better spouse? A better brother or sister? Need to be more involved in our church? Need a better job? And so on. If we're really honest with ourselves, we do find time to work on improvement from time to time. However, most of it doesn't stick, and so it can become an endless circle. Regarding improvements, one of the things we advocate at the Retreat at Hidden Treasure is the notion of living life out of your strengths, not your weaknesses. In other words, focusing improvement on making your strengths better, not fixing your weaknesses. This is typically reversed on how most people think. Many people spend an inordinate amount of time on their weaknesses and nothing on their strengths. As Tom Patterson once said, it's out of your strengths that you will make your contribution. So between survival and fixing our weaknesses, nearly all of our thought life is consumed. The good news is that there is way more to think about, and it's in these other areas of thinking that our real breakthroughs are possible. Let's take a look at some other, what I call, levels of thinking. After survival and improvement, the next level of thinking is knowing ourselves. We call it the 360-degree perspective. Generally speaking, most people think they know themselves pretty well. I like computers. I like planning, I like giving presentations, I like fly fishing, and so on. But in our work at the Retreat at Hidden Treasure, we have uncovered an obvious fact. People really don't know themselves. Why? First, because we all have blind spots. We see ourselves from the inside, but others see us from the outside. Second, we see what we want to see and nothing more. When I'm talking about really knowing yourself, here are the items that get included. Your strengths, your passions, what you love to do, your roadblocks, things that keep getting in your way, that hinder your progress, and your life experiences. How have the events in your past, both good and bad, shaped you? How are those forming you for your unique calling? Very few people know this data about themselves. It's a comprehensive list. I'm talking about a mountaintop view of yourself, seeing the complete picture. The next level up is what we call the working model. This is the life we create for ourselves. For example, our location, where we're going to live, the type of lifestyle we're going to have, how we use our leverage, how we use our strengths, in our livelihood, how we're going to make a living, how are we going to pay the bills. Our life model, our working model, is comprised of these components. Although we don't spend a lot of conscious time at this level, we do touch on it from time to time, especially during life transitions. Let's say you're going to take a new job that requires you to relocate. Now you'll definitely be thinking about these things. But for the most part, we don't think much about these things unless we're forced to. Finally, at the highest level of our thinking is our mission, our calling, our purpose, our sweet spot, whatever you want to call it. It is at this level when we really make some sense out of life. What are we here for? Are we here as a random entity to just survive, or are we here for a reason? So to recap, when we talk about thinking, there are different levels of thinking. The survival or life management level, the improvement level, the perspective level, the working model level, and finally, the mission or calling level. Now get this, our greatest chance for breakthrough thinking does not happen at the lower levels, the place that consumes most of our thinking. Rather, it's at the highest level of our consciousness that real breakthrough occurs. So if you want real change in your life, you need to be able to raise your thinking above the day-to-day issues, even above improving yourself. You need to move your thought process to higher levels.